Toxic people are not actually afraid of confrontation. In fact, most of them are experts at it. They know how to argue, how to twist words, how to turn a conversation until you're the one apologizing for something they did. So if yelling doesn't scare them and arguing doesn't scare them, what actually does? The answer is strange, but psychologically it makes complete sense. What scares a toxic person the most is a version of you they cannot predict, manipulate, or control. And that version of you is built entirely through silence, not through fighting back. Welcome back to Psychology on Love. Today we're breaking down 7 silent behaviors that involve no yelling, no drama, no dramatic confrontation that instantly put a toxic person on edge. If you've ever wondered why someone toxic suddenly changed their tone around you, suddenly became nicer, or suddenly backed off completely, there's a good chance one of these 7 things was happening, often without you even realizing the power of it. Stay until the end, because the 7th one is the one toxic people fear the most, and it has nothing to do with what you say at all. Let's start with the first behavior, and it's simply this. You stop reacting. Toxic behavior thrives on reaction. It needs your anger, your tears, your defensiveness, your explanations, because reaction gives them information. It tells them exactly which buttons work, which comments land, which insecurities they can press on again later. The moment you stop reacting, the moment your face stays calm and your voice stays level no matter what they say, you take away their entire map. They no longer know what hurts you. They no longer know what will make you crumble. And a toxic person without that information is a toxic person who has lost their power over you completely. This is often called the gray rock method in psychology, becoming uninteresting and unreadable, and it is remarkably effective precisely because it removes the one thing manipulation depends on, your visible emotional response. The second behavior is closely related, but slightly different. It's the refusal to explain yourself. Toxic people love pulling you into long conversations about your own feelings, your own choices, your own boundaries, because the longer you explain, the more material they have to argue with. When you stop over-explaining, when a simple "that doesn't work for me" replaces a 5-minute justification, something shifts immediately. There's nothing for them to pick apart. There's no reasoning to challenge. You're not defending a position, you're simply stating one, and stated positions without justification are incredibly hard to manipulate, because manipulation needs an opening, and explanation is usually that opening. The third behavior is calm confrontation, and this one surprises people, because it doesn't look like backing down at all. It looks like clearly naming what happened without raising your voice, without dramatic emotion, and without waiting for permission to feel a certain way. Something like "that comment was hurtful," or "I noticed what you just did," said in a completely calm, steady tone is far more unsettling to a toxic person than an angry outburst would be. Anger is familiar to them. Anger is something they know how to escalate, deflect, or use against you later. Calm, direct honesty is unfamiliar territory because it doesn't give them a fight to win. It simply states a truth and lets it sit there. The fourth behavior is setting a boundary once, and only once. Toxic dynamics often survive on repetition, you saying the same thing over and over, hoping that eventually it lands. But repetition actually signals negotiation. It tells the other person that if they just push a little more, wait a little longer, or apologize just convincingly enough, the boundary might move. When you state something once, clearly, and then follow it with action instead of more words, it sends an entirely different signal. It says this isn't up for discussion. And people who are used to negotiating their way around consequences find that incredibly disarming, because there's nothing left to negotiate. The fifth behavior is walking away without a dramatic exit. Not a scene, not a speech about everything they did wrong. Just quietly removing yourself from a situation, a conversation, or eventually the relationship itself, without needing them to understand why first. Toxic people often rely on your need for closure, your desire to make them see your side before you leave. The moment you no longer need that, the moment you're willing to leave a conversation, a room, or a relationship without a final explanation. You take away their last chance to talk their way back into control. There is nothing more unsettling to someone who thrives on control than watching someone leave without asking for permission to go. The sixth behavior is perhaps the quietest, and it's simply no longer seeking their approval. This shows up in small ways. You stop checking if they noticed your success. You stop wondering what they'll think of your decisions. You stop needing them to acknowledge that you were right or that they were wrong. Toxic dynamics often survive on this invisible thread of needing validation from the very person causing harm. The day that thread disappears, the entire dynamic loses its foundation. Because toxic people don't actually want you to leave completely. They want you present, but small. The moment you no longer shrink for their approval, they lose the exact thing that kept the relationship functioning on their terms. Now let's get to the seventh behavior, the one that genuinely unsettles toxic people the most, and it's this: consistency between what you say and what you actually do. Toxic people are used to empty threats. They're used to someone saying, "I'm done," and staying anyway. They're used to someone saying, "This is my last time forgiving this," and forgiving it again next week. That inconsistency is actually comfortable for them because it means your words carry no real weight, and if your words carry no weight, they can keep pushing past them indefinitely. But the moment your actions start matching your words exactly, the moment "I won't tolerate this" actually means you stop tolerating it. Something changes at a fundamental level. Suddenly, every word you say has consequences attached to it. Suddenly, they can't predict how far they can push, because they no longer know if this time is finally the time you mean it. That unpredictability, the unpredictability of someone who actually follows through, is terrifying to someone who has built their entire dynamic around your predictability. Here's what ties all 7 of these behaviors together, and it's important to understand this clearly. None of them are about punishing the other person. None of them require anger, revenge, or even acknowledgement from them at all. Every single one of these behaviors is really about you reclaiming something: your reactions, your explanations, your boundaries, your exits, your approval, and your own consistency. Toxic people don't fear confrontation, because confrontation gives them a stage. What they actually fear is irrelevance, the quiet, undeniable sense that they no longer have access to your emotional world the way they used to. And that fear doesn't come from anything loud. It comes from silence, consistency, and the simple, steady presence of someone who finally stopped negotiating their own worth. If you recognized yourself in even a few of these behaviors, I want you to know something important. This isn't about becoming cold or shutting people out completely. It's about protecting your own peace so thoroughly that people who thrive on chaos simply no longer find it in you. That kind of steadiness isn't something toxic people can argue with, manipulate, or wear down, because it was never built for them in the first place. It was built for you. If this video helped you understand a dynamic you've been living in, hit subscribe. Because here on Psychology on Love, we talk about exactly this kind of thing every week. The real psychology behind toxic relationships, healthy boundaries, and quiet emotional strength. Let me know in the comments which of these 7 behaviors you already practice, or which one you're working on right now. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, someone who's still explaining themselves to people who don't deserve the explanation, send this to them. Thank you for watching. Take care of your peace, and I'll see you in the next video.